Oh, I didn't update the titles or anything. That before we started. Electric mentioned on Discord. Get over to there. Just rebooted before I started this up. Configurable. Huh. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't know how would it, I mean, it is configurable to some extent, right? Because you could just change the workflow file. Yeah. Okay. So dot star, I am jumping right in. This will probably be a pretty short stream, maybe an hour and a half or something like that, and then I'll probably cut out of here, go to the meeting, CircuitPython weekly meeting, and then probably be back sometime in the afternoon, pop the stream back on when I get back to work after that. So with that in mind, I am going to jump straight in, and what I'm looking at first is this dot star PR, which is changing the way the last bit is, something like that. I'd say as though I follow 100% entirely what it's doing, like specifically, but from what I'm understanding, the outcome, the consequences of this change are that if you initialize a strip of dot stars with the wrong number of pixels, today you get some behavior that is deemed weird, and with this fix you'll get less weird behavior, is what I understand. There's a link to the forums here. So basically I'm just going to try to hook this up, and like I said, I don't really know too much about the specific dot star protocol. In fact, truthfully, I haven't used dot stars that many times at all. I've used neopixels a lot more than dot stars, and even that I would not necessarily call myself neopixel expert or anything like that. So yeah, the specific change is not something I can really comment on too much, but I can certainly try it out and see if we can recreate the weird behavior from before and after, and then see if the fix changes it, right? So, glowy things. Everything works as expected for n-16. LED becomes Rebecca purple for 1 second. DNet turns everything off. However, when and is greater than 16, the n+1th LED comes on blue, and dots dinit does not turn it off. Tested this for 1 to 30. The behavior is consistent. Okay. Extra stuff gets shifted, so that's neopixels. What do we consider it a bug? Bits 1. It's a bit difficult to figure out, is it? Guess maybe we could search for that. This is from a while back, it looks like. Argon Blue. I've seen them in the Discord, I think, more recently. You don't set N. Maybe that's who made the PR? LYU? So it's not the same name on Discord, at least. Or on GitHub, rather. Because DNit. Oh, we'll put a link or anything in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on live broadcast. I don't know if we'll have anybody there. At least throw that up there, so hopefully I can catch it. Okay. Because DNit deallocates dot star, turns off LEDs, but some LEDs potentially stay on. Yeah, I would agree with that, I think. Like, if it... Yeah, DNit should... Well, I guess it's a tricky case, right? DNit... I think I agree in principle with the idea DNit should turn off all the LEDs, but it does get tricky if, you know, you told it, hey, I'm creating a strip of 15 LEDs, and then you call DNit, and you're like, the 16th LED stayed on. The strip only knew about 15, so I guess in some ways that kind of makes sense. But if there is a fix that changes the behavior in that scenario and doesn't cause any other unwanted behavior, then I think that's a net positive. Oh yeah, that makes it seem like it is probably, because I think on GitHub they mentioned this here as well. And they have blue in this? Doesn't say specifically. Maybe that's who that is though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the specifics of it are a bit over my head, but the functionality, the practicality, we could definitely test that. I'd be curious to look up this. It's tough. I guess you can't. We don't know what the banned word was. But I guess if we searched for, like... Or maybe the dot? Maybe it's just... No, there's something there, right? Must be something there. If we, like... Google most of it, it will get us there. WordPress. Yeah, looks like it. Okay. Thanks, Google. Tim's blog. This WS, so those are neopixels, I think. One of these, I guess, is probably .star, the technical name, but I don't really know. Okay. Okay. They are talking here about sending 32 0 bits. Which I guess would be the opposite of what I would assume is probably going to come out to 32 1 bits. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I kind of follow. I'm not gonna. I definitely don't have any prior knowledge of any of this stuff, so like I can only really say what I'm reading off the page right now. But what I'm reading off the page right now makes sense based on what is said there. 0 bits, not ones. The trailer to avoid lighting up downstream pixels if there are more pixels than the length of this object. So we need to connect up dot stars. I have the camera on, I think. Probably will crash the first time. Maybe even the second time. Let's see. Usually we get it on the second try, but yeah. We don't need the flashlight if we're gonna have pixels. Actually, a little bit further up. That'll be good for now. We don't need this stuff. In fact, we probably don't want it, whatever it's plugged into, except for maybe ground, but I'm just gonna unplug everything and start fresh. I have a dot star strip ring around the rosy here. It is hopefully connected on these pins. I will say the colors match to an extent, but are wrong. So red is correct, or same, I should say. Yellow on this side, which is the strip side, the dot star strip, yellow actually goes to orange. Green on the dot star strip side actually goes to yellow. And then black or ground on the dot star strip side actually goes to green on the other side. So green for ground, red it matches, but then yellow and orange are swatched for yellow and green. That's all going to be fine though. The colors don't actually matter. This was just the only, well, probably not the only thing I have, but it was the quickest thing I found for connecting. Yeah, didn't look close enough apparently, because the other end is actually a male connector, which would have been probably easier to connect to. This one, well, connector is female, so we could plug in male jumpers to it. This one, the connector is male, so I needed female jumpers, which I now have, and now we have other wires. I'm gonna link everything together. It actually would have been simpler to use the other end of the strip, but I didn't realize in time. What I will do though is just actually have matching colors here, which we can carry through. So green for ground, I'll actually put black into. I don't actually really know for sure what the other ones are. I mean, it's data something, data plus and minus, I guess. So red will go for power. And then I do have a yellow and a green, so maybe I'll just bring those through from the way they are in the strip. Even though they don't match on the in-between wires. Okay. Plugged in. And I don't actually, like I said, I don't use dot stars very much. I don't really know how do you connect them. Does it just need 2 random pins, or? PNG. What, a PNG? Dot stars? It's not CircuitPython though. Blinko maybe. Huh. Oh, I think I ran this one time. Yeah. This is Raspberry Pi. Ah, yeah, I remember running this one time to try out a different PR long ago. So I had it hooked up to the Raspberry Pi, and I remember waving it back and forth, and it's like time lapse or whatever, right? Like if you have a long exposure camera, you can see. Well, it doesn't even need to be your camera, right? Your eyes make the same illusion. Basically, even though the lights are only in one spot at once, it moves around, and your brain fills in, so it looks like a solid image, even though it's like not one line at a time. Interesting stuff. SCK and Mosi, so I guess spy-ish? Yeah. Okay, we can do that. So to start with, actually, we'll just take this simple test. Look in the device. Oh dear. I already did that yesterday. Hopefully those are not valid anymore. Need to like... Yeah. Probably should have been a little bit more carefuler than that, but it's not actually a problem. That was only for validating email, and it already was done. Stuff on the bitmap. A lot of browsers right now. This didn't actually seem to plug in. Oh. Has no visible lights. Patch display update. Sharp display. Oh yeah. Trying to actually go back here. In the other chat, in case if we get anybody in there. I don't necessarily suspect we will, but just in case anybody think we're ignoring them accidentally. And I happen to see, it's not related to what I was working on, but I don't know. Sometimes I jump around like a puppy, I guess. Shift focus. So we're gonna go check a look at this because I'm interested. Which is the another comment on this one. Oh, I want to try out gamblers too. There's already a range check. Oh. Okay. I'll have to look closer at the code. I didn't notice there was a range check. That's back in core display IO stuff, which is a different thing. So I won't dive too far. I just wanted to see. Code, we'll copy paste that as sharp memory. We already have, well, we spelled it wrong, but I'll just put sharp display test. We probably don't need to keep it, but it's fine. Delete that stuff. Copy that stuff, paste that. I think, so it's not going to be this. I wonder why those have, why do those have that name instead of SCK and Mosi? Digital pins, so that's just random. Oh, you can use random pins, interesting. Okay. We'll go spy, so I'll use these. Oh, but that's a comment. Obviously we can't do that. I think we should have 30. Yeah, dot star white 30. LED 1 meter. brightness. Yeah, let's chunk it down some, just in case. Colors, random colors, main loop, dots, sleep for quarter of a second. It's fine, so let's run that. Not actually, oh, well, obviously it's not doing anything because I haven't connected the wires yet. We'll go TO as well. In fact, it probably extra did nothing because it probably doesn't have the right libraries either. So yeah, let's do that. Circa install, do auto. Pixelbuff dot star. The wiring should be pretty straightforward, I would assume. Just power ground SCK MOSI. But let's just double check. And they have done power to 5 volts, the USB. I don't know how much of this you'll be able to see, but more of it if it's at least on the screen, I guess. So we got black actually is for ground now, because I did swap back with my next set of wires. So black is ground. And then should I do power before data or data before power? I kind of feel like power last seems like the safest, but I don't actually know enough about the electronics to know if that's really true or not. So green, well, no, these colors are just different. Are these labeled? Yeah. So next to red, it says is CI, which is actually opposite the order of this, so I'm glad that I checked. Okay, let me double check. Next to VCC, next to VCC, it has CI, CD. I don't know. We probably can't focus enough on it without the light or anything, but VCC, CI, DI, ground. Oh. Actually, is this one way? There's arrows pointing somewhat inconveniently not the way that we have this wired. Okay, yeah, let's just switch to the other side. The other side would be easier anyway. I already did this. I was going to try and just use it, but I think, yeah, these arrows seem like makes it one way. Because I have out and in. CO, CI. I assume is clock out, clock in. And then they have DO, DI, data out, data in. Good news is, if we take those out of the mix, we can actually match the colors straight through. Ground is here. I'm just going to pull it for now. Do side one first, green, yellow. Power. Ground. And then, in my case, ground is next to D rather than C like the diagram. And D is going to MO, MOSI. because D is blue. Blue goes to Mosi. In my case, it's green instead of blue. We're gonna go to Mosi. Try not to just touch anything with the ends of these here. Let's get this one out of the way. Then yellow would be clock, which is SCK. Next one over. And then red would be power, which we're going to go USB. Okay. I'll see in use. So that, I think, is because our original code had initialized a display, which then lives after the VM resets and is still alive, even though we don't have a display connected. So I think if we reset, it should be in better shape regards to the bus. Yeah. Okay, so now we got all sorts of pretty lights. And we're using the current library, and the behavior that we're looking for is if you initialize fewer pins than your strip has, but still more than 16? Maybe? I don't know if that part's true for sure or not. Yeah, okay, this is visible after the second update of a dot star object that is at least 17 pixels long when there is a greater number of physical pixels in the chain. So let's run this. I didn't know you could import multiple things from different things on one line. Huh. That's interesting. Kind of wish there was a real multi-line comment. So that's initializing to n, setting it to 17, going through dots.n? Would that not be length? Seems awkward. That's just like a property that exists called n? Guess what is ours doing? N dots, which is length of dots. I mean, I suppose it doesn't matter if it has an n property. Just feels kind of... I'm not a huge fan of single letter things typically, although n, I guess, for number is about as good as it gets. Doesn't actually exist. Oh, there it is, actually. No, it does exist. Number of the dot stars in the chain read only just returns length. Okay. Doesn't really matter. I'd probably recommend using length, though, because that makes the code more portable to neopixels. Length will work on neopixels the same as dot stars, but I don't... As far as I know, neopixels don't have a .n, or I haven't seen it at least. So that's going to initialize 17 of them, loop over them, set each one to purple. At the end, sleep, and then de-init. And we're going to see that one or more of the lights stays on, I think is what we're looking for here. If fact, a lot of them stayed on. But I suppose that's because our previous code had 30, so they just all stayed on whatever they were on. Let's reset again. Oh, interesting. That doesn't, I suppose it stands to reason it's not like deinitializing or anything, so I'm just gonna undo the power. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So that time we got 17 of them. They turned on, and then we still have one over here somewhere that's blue down there. Is exactly what they were saying. Even though deinit has been called already. And I think that's the 18th pixel. Somewhere it's like on the inside underneath here. If I understood right, it's like the one after. So like theoretically we could move it further down the line. You know, like if we did 28, it'll be somewhere near the end, I think. Yeah, now it's all the way over here, and that's the second to last one. Okay. So we'll try the fix. I don't think I have this cloned yet. Convenient to have one open that's in the same directory, that way this list actually has all of that stuff. I guess I keep forgetting though, device workspace is actually in that same spot now. It didn't used to be on my old computer, but now it is. I guess it's not as helpful to do that anymore. GHPR list. Checkout 62. And then we'll copy this to our device. Fortunately, we're camera browser is way far down the line there. All right. We want to be in the, well, we're going to paste it. Yeah, I was trying to get the camera up just so we could see. So I paste it. We delete the old one. Doesn't really matter. It's going to, well, it's not actually going to overwrite it because it's MPY. Yeah, I'm going to delete it. It's fine. We could have pasted it. It would have worked fine. .py, .py takes precedent over .mpy. So if there are both, then the .py will be the one that actually executes. There we go. Okay. And then in my case, it is actually still on, but I suspect, I wonder, I kind of think maybe that's actually the same thing that we saw the first time, which is that it's on because it was on before. If we reset, then I think like my hypothesis is it won't be on anymore after we do the reset again. But I think we do have to clear it once, which we could do by initializing it and turning it off. We could also do by just, you'll unplug, replug the power there. Yeah. So now it ran and we have no blue. Let it go again, but I think we're good now. So it updates, turns them all on, turns them all off. We don't end up with any blue left over. And if we check the original use case is 17, it'll be the same, just doesn't turn as many on. Yeah, we still have no blue. Sweet. That, I would say, seems successful to me. Only other thing I could think to check is, like, just make sure the other examples run. I guess not really set up very easily to try the Raspberry Pi ones, though. No, and the only other one is actually the simple test. Should have some more examples here, maybe. LED animation. Alright, well, we already ran simple test and it worked, so set it back to that because it's pretty light, but we're good. Oops. Doesn't have those pins. Brightness down also. There we go. I'm just gonna butcher the spelling, yeah. Say linked. Or just maybe we'll just call it blog post. Post it here as well in case. So there's like one-stop shop record of all this stuff together. Is that wind? I'll be back in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I think I submitted approve, right? Yeah. Excuse me. 225. A bug fix, I guess, right? Yeah, it's a bug fix because it 1 second, one more time, sorry. Okay, the keys in my pocket still. I don't like to keep them in there. So I'll accidentally push the panic button on the car. It'll start beeping loud. It scares me. Yeah, bug fixed because the behavior is still the same with regards to the API. It's just in a case, in this edge case, where you set it up to a smaller size than the amount of pixels you have. We used to have this weird behavior that was unaccounted for, and now it doesn't do it anymore. We'll go 226. This extra pixel or pixels fix. Cool. Hooray. I'm gonna put this thing back on its spool. It's probably not the most riveting content ever, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I think we're done with dot stars for now, and if I don't do that now, good chance this just gets loosely wrapped back up and thrown in the bottom of the bin or something. I don't know if it was backwards before. That's part of why I didn't notice the other end. On. That was actually in one of these other ones? Just gonna do it this way. way. I'm actually going to go put this stuff back where it belongs, and I will be back in just a second. Okay. Actually robbed that female set of jumper wires there from a different thing, so I wanted to make sure to get that put back. I've looked at this one a few times now. I don't have the display, and I haven't found a good way to get the display. I would like to test this, but it doesn't... 28x display. We could I don't know if I have any of those. So the thing is, this is a PR for adding a new size that isn't actually on... any Adafruit breakouts. And at least a few weeks ago, I did try to look around for it a little bit. And I found some on AliExpress only. Although I saw these, and I actually did pick up one of these to play with. I'm curious about this. It has two colors, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, because the rest of these are all monocolors. But yeah, there's loads and loads and loads of these 128 by 64. There's even a 128 by 32 on that one. Oh. Look at this. This is like delivery in March. I mean, I guess I could order it, see if it ever comes. I think this is actually what we need, though, which was not here when I looked a couple of weeks back, so that's a good sign. Or at least I didn't find it. That's like exactly what we're after. And a couple of weeks ago when I looked for this, I only saw them on Ali. And I don't necessarily want to place the order that way, so didn't end up doing it. I wish I could filter out anything that's 128. Like, I searched for 64 by 32, but it shows all these other ones. Is there a negative search? Amazon negative search? Like minus? Does not work. Use the minus sign. Doesn't work anymore. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess you can still use Google to do it for you. It's the same one we were on, but it did find it, which is a good sign. Yeah, I saw this one. I did see this one a couple of weeks back when I looked, but it's I didn't know how to connect to it. This one to me looks like just the display with no driver chip, but I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's got the driver inside there. But it's also like completely unlabeled. Well, it can't be the exact same because these are I2C displays, so there's too many wires here. I think this is probably the display without the driver. Currently unavailable. That was just a review for a different thing, and then we get into switches and stuff that's not. Oh, yeah, it's 64, but it's NeoPixels. The display inside the button, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so there is one now, but it is February, March. A couple of weeks out. Seems like it still probably has to come across the ocean, I'm guessing. Pay shipping and handling also. Even expedited, it says is February 24th. So yeah, it must still have to come across the ocean. No. Eligible for shipping. I feel like this is kind of a coin flip whether this arrives or not. Oh yeah, standard shipping is also March 13th through April 3rd. Expedited, the earliest it says is 24th through March 1st, and that's $38. Top of the $9 for a display. I guess we'll go standard, and in another month or two, we'll see. I'm not gonna be literally shocked if it doesn't end up showing up, but maybe. Be nice if it does. We can try it out. I will play with this one at some point too. Like I said, I picked up one of those because I'm curious about the multicolor. If it's like just yellow on the top and blue on the bottom, or if it can actually. I mean, I don't think every pixel can change between yellow and blue, but not actually sure. Okay, so we have something on the horizon for that one. It'll be a while, but that's examples. Seems good to me. That's also still, I think, a minor release, right? Because it's just updating the docs. No functionality at all has changed anywhere. So we'll go 1.19.13. example documentation example links, documentation example links. $19.13, bigger than 119.12. Yeah. Yep. This one just got missed. Whenever this changed in Vector.io, the API used to have vector shape, no longer does. You just make your shapes directly now. This is in a init, a rectangle helper. Is it used by Sparkline or anything? Is it used somewhere? Oh. Well, no, yeah, see, this doesn't open to a very useful place. Actually have display layout yet? You got this window. I might be in favor of just collapsing this to only be one or the other instead of both. Because it is hard-coded to only be one way anyway. And if it didn't support Vector.io, then it wouldn't need the palette, which means we could get rid of that as a argument, and it could just be bitmap color index. I think there's a draw rect in bitmap tools, but it may not behave the same, I guess. I think it's a filled in rectangle. There is the PR for that new one that's draw polygon, I think, which is not filled in when it draws. I think it's outline only. You get used somewhere? Yeah, it gets used a lot, actually. Cartesian. They're all also hard-coded over there to be true. browser. So let's go. Do the trusty. Go to TFT. I unplugged it, so we'll plug it back in. I don't have layout yet, so let's go grab that into there. And I think I'm actually just going to use... I'm just going to test it real fast with the calling the function directly. Because the way it's hard-coded in Cartesian, it doesn't use it anyway. So we'd have to like modify Cartesian if we wanted to test with that. But we can just call the helper directly. We do need to have like all the boilerplate for having a bitmap and being able to draw into it, which I'm tempted to go copy from learn, but I will do a little test here and see if it's actually something I know by heart or not yet. Display-io board. So we need, I like to do this. It's not strictly necessary, but I like it. Main group. EMP, bitmap. This takes height, width, and number of colors. Not in that order. Colors doesn't really matter. We need a tile grid. Pass it our bitmap. Pixel shader. We need to actually create still. Five colors. Everything else I think could be default in that. Okay. It's, you can't see the color very well, but it is green. Get on the far angle you can. The light probably would help. Zooming in, maybe. The light will add glare, so it's... Oh, not really, actually. Got the good angle going today, I guess. So, what we want to test is inside of here, we import this rectangle helper. I don't know if that's going to be able to find it. No. It's, helper. So now we go rectangle helper. So this wants x1, y1, x2, y2. Just look back into here for the code. No, x0, y0, height, width, bitmap, color index, palette. So let's go 16, 16, height, width, 100. Wait, height, width, or width, height? Oh, interesting. It is height, width. A lot of things are width, height. It might be worth swapping, but then it changes the code. So height, we actually do want smaller than 100, I think, because I don't remember how many pixels it is tall. Let's do 48, do 100 wide. Bitmap is bitmap, palette, no, color index. Let's do 2 for now. Palette, which technically we wouldn't need. Can you get by without passing it? No. Might be nice if that would default to none, and then since it's not used for the non-vector IO one. Do I have 2 of these? I do. Okay, so we did get our rectangle there. But we have, this is still, well, 2 things. It's still the old version, but also we didn't actually test the vector IO one, so we would want bitmap tool equals false. Theoretically, this one should fail because vector shape doesn't exist. Q1. Extra positional arguments given. Is it not like that I did bitmap tool as a name, or? Meeting reminder? Nope, not yet. So it is pretty much time for a meeting reminder. Simple to make optional arguments with defaults. Handle it this week. Honestly, probably today. Yeah, for sure. Oh, nice. There's some more action in the old core PR, which I'm again gonna go take a look at, even though it's not what I'm actually working on directly, just because I'm curious. See it scroll through in the Discord there. Bronco space. I mean, excited to try out this one as well. And then the other thing I actually have is I got a Bengal JS. I'm curious to try out Scott's build there. I think that will be a bit of a more difficult thing because it's got to like load through and everything. Happy to see. Should this validate int range with the low as 0? and the height as get width -1. Yeah, well, let's see, removing the existing test just below. I wish in the GitHub interface there would be like, wait, what? Okay. Well, that's kind of ironic, because what I was going to say is I wish there was something I could click and see more lines of code to see more of the context. Is this? Oh, these are, oh, okay, okay. So I think what's nice is actually this view puts them in line. Yeah. I'm trying to look for context around it a bit. Maximum as well, 32,767. Yeah, I'm down with that. I think there's, I mean, we definitely saw a validate int max. There might have been a range. I think there was a range too, so we can give it low and high side. Doesn't support negative indexing, which is on the what now? The slices probably? The get item? Yeah, subscript, get item set item. Doesn't support negative indexing. That's not an issue to be solved. Right now, I'm not sure why someone would try to depend on accessing bitmap -1, but if they did, it'd be nice if it conformed to the user rules of indexing in Python. Yeah, I would agree with that. That'd be nice. Same thing, really, across the board. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it would be helpful to do it that way, but that being said, like, it is kind of expected out of Python objects, and it behaves a lot like Python objects, so that would be nice. So this validate int range with 0 and then the width as well, and this is also in the subscripting. And yeah, it probably should actually, yeah, right? Because so in some cases it makes sense to allow things to go outside the bounds. Like for instance, you could set a tile grid, you know, its X position, you could set it to -10, or whatever, to move it outside the display, you know, outside, so that it's not actually showing. Same thing on the right side or the bottom or whatever if it was bigger than the max. But this is not really that case, right? This is inside the subscript of bitmap, so like user is saying, you know, set the pixel at this XY coordinate to be this other color index, and in that case, yeah, it shouldn't really allow going outside, and in fact, it's probably will raise, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I wonder what it does. I would think it fails somehow anyway, but maybe not. Maybe it just gets ignored. But yeah, we should validate the top side too, I think. Good point. It'd be nice to see 2 checks consolidated. Bits. These 2 checks can be consolidated. The upper bound would be something like okay. Meeting reminder. Ah, YouTube. Why is the time you get well, it times out so wildly different? Sometimes I'll go like all day. YouTube will never "Are you still there?" me. And sometimes it'll be like, I swear I just did that like 30 minutes ago. Bits per value. Upper bound would be something like 1u. Fifth value minus 1. 1u. I don't know what this is, 1u. It bits per value. Okay. I'll definitely have to tinker with that some to just try to understand it better. I'm not sure that I actually get what it's doing. Like high level, I think it's saying like ensuring you don't set a color index that's too high. If you told it you're only going to use 5 colors like I did here, this is basically checking to make sure that you didn't then set one of the pixels to be, you know, color number 50, 500 or whatever, because we told it we were only using 5. So theoretically, it's not valid to set it to anything higher than 4, because the indexes are actually 0-based. It doesn't actually work out to exactly that, because it actually ends up converting to the maximum that the maximum number that the minimum number of bits that can represent the number of colors is, if that makes any sense. So like 5 is what we set here. 5, the minimum number of bits you can represent 5 with is what? I think 3, right? Like 1, 0, 1, that would be 5. But technically, with those same 3 bits, you could have 111, which is actually 7. And so, if I understand right, this actually would allow you to set a thing to 6, even though it wouldn't do anything. And technically, it shouldn't be allowed because 5 is the max. But because of the way it's actually checking against the max of the bits rather than the specific number it had, it causes that to allow some to go through. So that's what this portion of the code is doing. And then the suggestion is essentially combine the two together, probably by using the validate range like we would be for the rest of those as well, giving it 0 as the low side, and then the high side is this value that Jeff mentions. The bit about 1u I still don't quite follow, but maybe that's just a value. Is that like an unsigned int? Is that just a literal unsigned int or something maybe? I guess. So that will be some stuff that we can look into a little later on. We end up on vector shape here. Oh, right, this was not working. I tried, yeah, so I did bitmap tool false, and it's for positional arguments. It was not like that. Bitmap tool bool equals true. Extra positional arguments? Arguments. But it's not really a positional argument. It's a keyword argument. Today it's okay to try to set a pixel outside the palette range. It just doesn't make the change. That's a feature that's handy when manipulating palettes. I think it will. I would have to test. I would have to test to be sure, but off the top of my head, I think it will allow it as long. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Randomly just saw a person walking around in my backyard. Was a electricity workman or something. Looks like they're doing some work in the area, but I had to do a double take. I'm not used to looking over and just seeing people in the backyard like that. It's a keyword argument. Oh, right. To the best of my understanding, and again, I would have to test it to be sure, but the way that I think it works is it will allow you to go outside the range as long as you stay inside that maximum number of bits. So like I had here, so like because this one was set to 5, it makes the theoretical maximum 7. So if you were to try to set to either 5 or 6 or 7, not sure if I'm off by 1. I don't know for sure if 7 is allowed or not. Then it allows it, even though those are actually outside the range of the palette. But if you try to set to 8, I think it won't allow it, because 8 would require a 4th bit. And I think what it's actually checking is, even with that line of code, wherever it's at, I think here what it effectively checks is that the value that was passed in is less than the maximum available value using the minimum bits that are needed to store the actual number of colors that the user had initially specified, which is very convoluted. But I think that's what and so it allows you to go over by a coincidental amount based on, just depends what this was, how big it was, and then how many bits it takes, and then that maximum kind of follows from there. But it's definitely worth checking out. And possibly worth allowing to go outside, as long as it doesn't cause any other issues. Could theoretically raise or catch value errors maybe, and then still be able to do it. Definitely helps with palettes that are in similar sizes, though. If all your palettes are similar sizes, then you get kind of whatever that same amount of leeway over the top is. You get the maximum leeway if you happen to use a value that just rolled over to the next number of necessary bits. So I don't get why this doesn't go. Oh, it's inside. Oh, okay, right. This is actually, well, that's a different error than I was expecting, though. This is essentially telling me this doesn't work. Oh, okay. Right, so this, yeah. So I was expecting to fail because vector shape doesn't exist, but the truth is, as a consequence, essentially, of that refactoring inside vector.io, not only does vector shape not exist, but this actually has a different signature now and needs different arguments. So this is basically just telling me that, yes, this in fact does not work as it is today. And so the change that was put in is twofold: remove vector shape, but also in the rectangle, specify the arguments which are now needed. Look at my palette slicer test code. It's creating a new palette. It's used with bitmap containing palette values outside of the range of the newly defined palette. Yeah, I will, and all of that is from memory for me as well. So I'd have to double check as well to see if the way I remember it is accurate. But I think that's what I recall seeing. At one point, I contemplated trying to make it so that it would actually enforce it at the same number. So if you set it to 5, that it would enforce it at 5. but it turns out it doesn't actually store it. I think is what I found. Like you put in 5, it calculates how many bits it needs to store that, and then it doesn't actually store the number. It just stores how many bits it needs. It's a bit weird. I guess it's gonna store a smaller number. Not sure why it does that way, but it probably makes sense in the context of internally in display IO sum. Copy that one. Delete this one. I think I'm gonna head out after I test this. So the meeting is upcoming here in about 45 minutes. I'll be attending that, and then I'll probably be back around in the afternoon. Pop the stream back on, work on some more stuff later on, maybe get back into that core PR now that we've got some good feedback in there from a couple of folks. Thank you to the folks that have looked at that. I think Generov and Jeff. Okay, so at this point we have does not crash anymore. However, I don't actually get a thing drawn either. Well, yeah, I mean, I think this doesn't work. I think this has probably never worked just because it doesn't return. I mean, we could look at the old version. It doesn't return. Like, nothing ever happens with this shape. The shape gets created, but it never actually gets used or returned, so it doesn't actually end up drawing anything. So this fix does make it not crash, but I think I'm actually in favor of just removing the bitmap tool as a Boolean argument altogether. Can't make a post there though. Okay. Unfortunately, I was trying to hold it, make it through the end, but I'm not gonna do it. So I'll have to be right back in just a minute. Yeah, I mean, this does fix the crash, but I think it's worth just taking out bitmap tool argument altogether, which would also fix the crash and just get rid of the vector IO option, which doesn't end up actually working right now anyway. So I think this means also like nobody has used it in the time it's been here, so I think it's probably okay to get rid of it. It's not used by the built-in code, and if nobody else, like it would have been broken as in raising an exception since the vector IO API changed, which was a little while ago now. But it actually would have been broken as in like not actually visually doing anything since I think forever. Because that wasn't like an API change. It just didn't do anything with that object. That would have always needed to, essentially add it to the group that is visible on the display. Means like it could return it and then the user code could add it, or the group could get passed in and it could add it to there. There's a bunch of different ways that it could work, but I think it's worth just getting rid, because that way the API is the same. It doesn't have this like duality of different behavior based on which arguments you give it that are so different. Like this has to be kind of fundamentally different the way it's going to draw if it uses an object instead of a bitmap like that. Okay, I think I'm going to head out for now, so I'll be back I think later on this afternoon after the meeting. Do some more PRs and probably try to get back into the core display IO stuff, like I said, since we got some feedback on this one now. So yep, thank you for watching along. Hope you have a nice day. I will see you all next time. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day.